Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns from the U.S. Congress. A resignation starts very soon. I'm going to let you hear from her and then give you an interesting background to this resignation. Here it is.
I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future.
As you are well aware, initially, she was one of the, I would call, executive ringleaders of the MAGA movement, gave Donald Trump significant credibility that he did not earn or even deserve within any rank or demographic of conservative politics. They validated him in ways he never would have been able to validate himself in conservative circles. Marjorie Taylor Greene then became an outspoken, well, let's just say adversary. Based on what? Once again, the Jeffrey Epstein files became a big front and center contention. But even prior to that, her stance on the war, as opposed to Trump's stance on the war, and a handful of other Republicans who echoed the same sentiment, but did not take it as far. It was when Donald Trump called Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor, as a matter of fact, giving her the infamous nickname that he always gives individuals he considers political enemies, calling her Marjorie Taylor Greene. She then held the press conference with individuals whose voices deserve to be heard in reference to the scandal that Trump is seemingly hiding, Jeffrey Epstein files and the sex trafficking operation. Now, there's more. Loyalty. Here it is.
Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn, be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
Put her up full mass. Marjorie Taylor Greene. The irony of all people to oppose Donald Trump in such an aggressive way, Marjorie Taylor Greene found some level of backbone. We're going to get into some why in a moment, but still, there are individuals who Donald Trump has attacked and they have decided to kiss the ring. But Marjorie Taylor Greene did not. Once again, we'll get into some of the background. I do find it interesting. She gave a political analysis about what will happen in the future. I actually agree with her analysis. I do believe she would have won her district in the state of Georgia. Here's why. Donald Trump came after the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, campaigned against Brian Kemp, the Republican nominee, the Republican governor. Brian Kemp won. Trump also campaigned against Raffensperger, the Secretary of State in charge of elections, Republican elected. Raffensperger won. Donald Trump does not have the kind of influence in the state of Georgia, where Marjorie Taylor Greene represents her district, that he has in other states, like, let's say, Texas. So I believe her political analysis was actually spot on. Let's get into it. Beyond the Epstein files, Greene has become increasingly vocal in criticizing Trump's posture on foreign policy, immigration visas, and his refusal to regulate emerging technologies including artificial intelligence, before adding in Republican leadership accusing the group of sidelining Congress entirely once Trump returned to the White House. Greene's departure immediately narrows the GOP's nearly razor-thin House majority and triggers a special election in Georgia's 14th congressional district. This will require a quasi-Trump ally. I call him quasi. I will explain that in a moment. Brian Kemp to schedule the election within 10 days of her resignation taking effect. Once again, the reason I call Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, a quasi-Trump ally is because he's a reluctant ally of Donald Trump. He does not go out of his way to sing praises to Trump. He will say something halfway decent if in a corner. But because of their feud over the years of Trump telling Kemp what to do and Kemp saying, no, I would do it my way, it has created friction between the two. Now, as noted by CNBC, Greene's resignation from her seat could actually set the stage for her to seek to replace Trump in the White House in the 2028 election and possibly become the next leader of the MAGA movement once he exits political life. But Greene's statement conceded that her resignation could end not only her congressional career, but also her role in MAGA. Greene is shutting those rumors down in a post on X Sunday. Greene said that she never, ever considered a presidential run. Quote, I'm not running for president. I never said I wanted to, and have only laughed about it when anyone would mention it, she wrote. Political strategist Cornell Belcher on MS now claims that wasn't a resignation, but an announcement, perhaps running for governor. Here it is.
Actually, what I'd like to do is Alex, is say that wasn't in fact a resignation speech. It was an announcement hiding underneath a resignation speech, right? To underline what Molly was just saying, that in lots of ways is politically genius what she's doing. I mean, she is positioning herself as saying that Congress isn't working, and not only Democrats but also Republicans. And if I were to place a bet, Alex, she's running for governor.
All right, possibly. Now, other politicians are reacting to the news. Here it is.
What went through your mind when you first heard she was going to resign on January 5th?
You know what? Honestly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate. And imagine what those threats look like when you literally are someone like me. I don't know if she really fully understood how bad she was making it for other people. And now that they're doing it to her, you know, I just got to say, well, why is it that everyone else is able to stand and you can't?
Congresswoman Crockett has a valid point. Marjorie Taylor Greene has faced some backlash for days compared to other leaders who have received significant backlash, even more aggressively, for years due to President Donald Trump's behavior. Marjorie Taylor Greene may have come to an awakening point, if that be via a political catalyst or personal catalyst. I cannot judge that. But it is an awakening point. And during an awakening point, a person has to decide, are they a leader or are they not? And whatever that decision may be, let that decision be authentic to them. Because the last thing you need is somebody who proclaims to be a leader and the fire comes and they are not. There's more. The president told ABC on Friday that Greene, formerly one of the Trump's biggest supporters, did not notify him of her plans prior to the announcement. Quote, nah, it doesn't matter, Trump told ABC's Rachel Scott when she posed the question about Greene and giving him the heads up. Quote, but I think it's great. I think she should be happy, end quote. Trump also said Greene's announcement was, quote, great news for the country, end quote, before later ripping her in a Truth Social post on Saturday morning. The president, though, softened his language on the former ally in comments to reporters outside the White House later that morning, saying while he disagreed with her philosophy, he thinks she's a nice person. Trump posted on social media, Marjorie traitor, because of plummeting poll numbers and not wanting to face a primary challenger with a strong Trump endorsement where she would have no chance of winning, has decided to call it quits. Now, once again, I remind you that everyone Donald Trump counter-endorsed in the Georgia election for a Republican seat, basically, they still won their election, even though he counter-endorsed them. So once again, he doesn't have the kind of sway in Georgia as he proclaims. Now, Representative AOC has something to say. Quote, she's carefully timing her departure. Just 1 to 2 days after her pension kicks in and after making millions of dollars inside of trading stocks for weapons manufacturers and others while in office. Ocasio-Cortez said in an Instagram story, quote, she is saying a lot, but her actions have not backed up the rhetoric. For all her talk, she's still voting with them to gut health care and advance self-dealing corruption schemes. I think it's important to note all of these comments for the record because they're not exclusive to the other, meaning one doesn't have to be true for the other one to be untrue. They are all true statements. We cannot forget the reality of the summary when comparing the record of service. The record of service is clear. At the same time, we do not dismiss the political reality that this creates for Donald Trump and perhaps an impeachment which will come after the midterm election. There's more. Representative Eric Swalwell, Democrat, California, quote, I don't know what to make of it. We need a vote to put the Obamacare subsidies back in place because everyone's premiums are going to be going up in January, Swalwell said on CNN. She's been an advocate, actually. All right. Okay. It's interesting. Once again, you go back to the fundamental policy of leadership itself. When MAGA came in hot and heavy, they didn't really care if you had actual leadership credibility or leadership background or quality or a proven record of standing up for people. Well, this is what happened. All right, Senator, thoughts on this one?
You know, the October surprise came in November. So let me say, because I was writing down some thoughts as you were talking. I totally agree with you, Dr. Richey. I believe that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene could have won her district. Yeah. The question becomes whether or not she wanted to go through the fight it was going to take. Obviously, in her strong exit announcement, she made it clear that she did not necessarily want to go through the fight. But if she was willing to go through the fight, I'm with you. I think she would have won. Mm-hmm. All of the things, like you laid it out, you summarized what I was going to say, is that all of the things that have been said here can be true and are not contradictory of each other, even though it may seem that way on the surface. So that's my summation. Now, let me break some stuff down. Representatives Crockett and Ocasio-Cortez, I'm going to take them all at the same time. Okay. While both of them make very valid points. Rep Crockett is right. She out, she can't take the fire, she can't take the heat. Imagine what I've been going through. Okay, I got you. Representative Ocasio-Cortez said her timing is curious. She insider trading. Well, first of all, all the members of Congress can participate in insider trading. Got you, Congresswoman. I understand that. But why didn't you push then leader Nancy Pelosi or Speaker Pelosi to stop insider trading? You see what I'm saying? So even though both representatives are making salient points, but now I can counterpoint them on this. You're right. But now, gutting healthcare, absolutely right. I get it. But now here's the thing that separates. I don't agree with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene on most things, but this is where she caught my attention. Not only the epiphany that she had about war, her saying, my children are suffering. Ain't nothing like experience to be a great teacher. My children are suffering. And none of what President Donald J. Trump or most of what he's doing is not America first. Now, however she came to this, she came to it. But this is what separates her from a Rep. Ocasio-Cortez and Representative Jasmine Crockett. She's bumping up against her own party. Mm-hmm. And for that, she gets respect. Because I bump up against, as you know, Doc, right. I will tussle with the Democratic Party all day long, twice on Sundays, not letting the Republicans off the hook. But it's very easy being a Democrat for me to bump up against Republicans, and especially President Donald J. Trump, who ran as a populist, but heretofore has governed as an elitist. But I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, we don't have to like her. We do want people to come to the light, Doc. I can talk about how long it took you to get there, but ultimately I want you to see the light, even if you see the light on one or two things. But my ultimate critical thinking point is that none of the Democrats that are bumping up against her stood up and said we need a robust primary in 2023 going into 2024 so we wouldn't have the second tour of duty for President Donald J. Trump. And none of them have bumped up against the Democratic Party and putting something on the line to lose in the same way that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene just bumped up against President Donald J. Trump. Now, she may have ulterior motives. I'm not here to judge that.
Right.
All I'm saying is that I applaud her courage for actually seeing the light on some things and willing to bump up against the power within her own party.
Very well said. And as you were talking, I'm reminded of one U.S. senator who did confront Nancy Pelosi about insider trading, a Democrat named John Ossoff, a good friend of mine. And I remember when he was going through that battle, and he stood flat-footed on an idea, a principle, an ideology of fairness that said it doesn't make sense for us to be in this position of power and influence over the same dynamics of investment that we benefit from. And he stood his ground on that, which inside baseball, inside politics, that's not going to get him invited to every meeting or every party, but he stood on principle. So I agree with you 100%. Standing against your own party on something like that becomes it separates leaders from champions, in my opinion. Okay, we'll bring updates as they come.